Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me with the release party for Wraith and the Revolution, my sci-fi book. Today, I am with L.L. Stevens, who is the author of the Triempery Revelations series. Awesome epic fantasy. If you haven't read it, please check it out. Timothy Wolff, who is the author of the Legacy of Boulom series. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Also, awesome epic fantasy series.
Thank you.
And then C B Lansdell, the author of Far Removed, which is a sci-fi book that I absolutely fell in love with. So we're just gonna chat about whatever. Feel free to send comments, and I will try my best to watch the chat. So
Excellent.
Awesome. So, AJ, what are you going to be baking? I know you bake something every time you release a book.
I usually bake cookies, but today would have been a great day for baking if I hadn't scheduled a dentist appointment earlier today.
Yeah.
But
That's rough.
it's going to be really hot here the next few days, so I think I'm going to make ice cream instead.
Where are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Colorado.
Oh, okay. Are we on the same time zone? I don't know how time works over there.
I'm on Mountain Time. I have no idea
Okay.
what time zone you're in.
It's 3:00 by me, so.
Okay, it's 1 here, so I'm a
Okay.
little bit behind.
And because I'm in South Africa, it's actually 9 p.m. over here.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, so we're all over the place. This is pretty cool.
Yes.
I'm in Ocean City, New Jersey. It's also 3:00 here.
Oh, so we're pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
I'm in Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the odd one out.
I'll wave at you across the ocean.
So yeah, I guess I should show off the book a little bit. Wraith and the
Yes.
Revolution. It's my not so little sci-fi book is what I call it. Standalone, which is
Nice.
fun. Yeah.
Oh, darn. I told my husband it would be a series. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this book so much. I really am. I love science fiction and I love AJ's writing. So,
Oh, thank you.
how can I not dive into this one? So I will be. As soon as I get home and get my book, I had it shipped to my house.
Yeah, I've so far I've only read your Caein Legacy, but it's an excellent series. I really do
Oh,
enjoy
thank
it.
you.
Is this one first person?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
Wow. I loved how it's so similar to the Caein Legacy in being first person, but the voice is completely different, and it's a more humorous book, this one. Caein Legacy, like Andrew was a different character from Kai, but I love them equally. Yeah, it's an awesome series and an awesome standalone.
Oh,
I could
thank
use
you.
some comedy because when I was reading the Caein Legacy, I told AJ I was going to block her if certain things happened.
Yeah,
and they did.
In exile.
So
I mean, it gets better from there for Andrew.
yeah, but he has a rough go of things.
Yeah. I mean, Kai has some stuff he goes through too, but he's got a pretty self-deprecated sense of humor. Like he makes fun of himself sometimes, and yeah, I had a lot of fun writing it.
That's good.
Yeah, and AJ breaks the fourth wall a bit with him, not excessively, but just like a little.
Yeah, he does every once in a while address the reader.
I'm a big fan of doing that. But it's funny. Some people really hate that. And I don't know why. I think it's funny, but some people just, it ruins the book for them.
Depends on the book, doesn't it? I mean,
It does.
Well, writing it, I thought it was I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of Tim's book, The Whisper That Replaced God. I think you did that really well there, the way you broke the fourth wall.
Well,
people love pleasant reads and all those things.
It's funny because
that part made me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
I was reading at work at my lunch break and I just started laughing and somebody's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, you're not an author, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
What was funny was I don't mind saying this, that it didn't really resonate with AJ, which is totally fine, absolutely fine. And you messaged me when I was in another live stream, and I was like, "Damn, just stay cool. Don't have a sad
Oh
face."
no,
You know?
I have the worst timing. I'm sorry.
No, it's
It
absolutely
wasn't
fine. It's totally cool.
necessarily the book,
Yeah.
'cause it was really well written, and there was parts I really enjoyed. Just like I have some stuff in my past that
Yeah.
Lord Mute kind of triggered a bit. So
No, he's a total jerk. So I mean, I was actually really expecting this book not to do well at all, because it was like, who wants to read about a terrible person for 90 pages? But I mean, some people, it's hit or miss. It's very hit or miss.
I like
I
terrible
like
in fiction, not in real life.
Yeah, that's so
I
fair.
like Into Darkness. That's my favorite of yours. Your first book. I mean, they're all awesome, but I've got a
Oh,
soft
thank you.
spot for that one. Yeah.
That's my personal favorite, and it's tough because the first book is always the one where you're learning what you're doing.
Hmm.
So I definitely made a lot of mistakes, but I'm really happy with the re-release. I think I kind of nailed it as much as I could.
Yeah. And it has that scene with Sardonyx and that child. Yeah. I think that's what did it for me.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to write, because that was actually one of the benefits of being a novice, was I wanted as many point of views as possible, and I don't do that anymore because I think it's makes the book a bit messy if there's like too many things going on. But there's really no reason for him to have a point of view chapter, but it works really well. You know, so I'm glad I did that.
yeah, my first fantasy series is multi point of view, and like it took a lot of planning and stuff to get everything lined up. So I get it. It's since
that,
then I've really stuck with like one character per book because I like that better.
Is that Serpentis? Am I saying that right?
It's the series related to Serpentis,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't say
Serpentis
that
is
right at all.
written in first person. It's just one character, that book, but the main series is I think there's 7 across the whole 3 books.
How many books do you have?
Published.
My light went out.
Wraith was number 11.
Wow.
Well, it was the Relics of War series that caught my attention first. I read it. I loved it. I love multiple points of view anyway. I write that way myself, but I'm very comfortable with it. So I enjoyed seeing the different races, their points of view through the characters that represented those races and the different perspectives. For me, that's a natural place to swim. And I just loved the series. So then, of course, I read the Caein Legacy. Well, I read all of them except Race. So, yeah, it's a good series. It's perfectly in my wheelhouse, and I think people who like epic fantasy, sword and sorcery fantasy would really like the Relics of War.
Oh, I must try that still. I've read the novella Ballad of Alchemy and Steel, which takes place in Relics of War, I believe. And I loved that. That was very. I have a feeling it's like tonally a bit different from the rest because it's quite a like soft, gentle story. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to diving in there.
Yeah, you'll see both of the characters from the ballad in the main series at various points.
And Serpentis was fascinating because how the Serpentis people were.
I've had quite a few people comment on that one scene like midway through the book.
Yeah.
And that like they had to put it down and walk away. And I was like, that's what I was going for. It was a a tough book for me to write because of the emotional toll it took on me. So
it's tough when certain scenes affect the author too, you know. They affect the reader, and you never know if they will, but you know if they affected you. I know which scene you mean.
Yeah. I don't like to like go into details with that because it's a spoiler if people haven't read the series or that book.
I know what that's like, having those like midpoint scenes or things that are like I get lots of feedback about certain
You
things.
had
and
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That really, I think about that all the time. That was really one of the most effective, like, shock scenes I've ever read in any book ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I read your novella, I was so waiting for something horrible to happen. I was like, this is
Yeah.
too nice. Someone's gonna get like shot in the face or something.
No, I needed to do something more on the cozy side after Far Removed.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
I feel
really
like
liked it. It was a great
sequel.
contrast to the main novel.
Oh, thank you. I feel like the sequel has a bit less of the shock factor because a lot of that is more in book one. But yeah, there are still surprises. It's got a different tone, less suspense, a little bit more action. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and it was awesome that we used the same editor.
Yeah,
John Oliver. Are you using him for the sequel?
I am. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good experience with him, so I want to try and keep the style the same and the way he's handled the punctuation because I'm still learning. So I need a professional to help me with the editing. Yeah. And
Yeah. I mean, I
AJ,
don't know about you guys, but I think I'm getting better, but every time I get that copy edit back, it's a mess.
yeah,
So I mean,
the commas.
I'm just not getting there.
That was the old days.
My commas are never in the right place. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to ask AJ, like, do you use the same editor with all your books, or do you go to different people?
Yeah, the same person has done the editing for all of my books. I don't know if she usually has her name on her site, but her website is Spellcraft Editor. I met her years ago. We used to work together, and then when I decided to start writing, she was getting into the editing thing, and I was like, well, I know you and I trust you, so let's see how this goes. And I've been really happy with her feedback and stuff. So
Oh, that's great.
I think
I
we're all
used a different edit. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we're all looking for the immaculate manuscript. We like to turn it in. We try. It is never immaculate. That's where the editors come in.
It's really shocking to me because I know about you guys. I reread my manuscripts an unhealthy amount of times, just over and over. And when I send it in, I think it's great. And it's never even close. It's like it's just crazy how many mistakes.
It's a good start. Yeah.
That's why I mean there are indie writers who edit their own work successfully, and I find that baffling.
I don't think I have that ability.
I absolutely do not. I can't do it.
Yeah, you get too close to your work. I mean, my bugbear is repetition. Like I'll write one sentence after the other, and I'll put the same word in both.
Yeah.
And yeah, things like that I find all the time.
I do that too. I keep thinking I'm getting better, and then like I'll get my edits back, and I'm like, really? I did it again and again and again.
Yeah, like I got my most recent feedback was I think I wrote flinched 8 times in one chapter, so I had to fix that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of flinching.
Why people nod too much?
Yeah.
And LL, how far are you in your series now? Is it just one book left? I can't remember.
The last book is coming out in 2026.
Excellent. I've been seeing your books all over the place. It's really awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I try to get it out there, and people are starting to pick up the work and doing more of that for me, which I'm endlessly thankful. But yeah, the first book was published in 2021, Sordanian, and it's been a book a year since. And the last one is in the spring, coming in the spring. The publisher I have an indie publisher, a small publisher. She handles all the stuff I don't like how to put something on Amazon and I don't want to do that stuff. But she does. So anyway, but the publisher has the book, and so it's being edited by editors right now. I have 3 editing passes that it'll go through with editors I trust, and then a copy edit at the end, and but I'll have it all done. It'll be done, and it'll be out in 2026.
That's excellent.
The last book of the series.
I'm excited for the last
It took me 20 years to get it out, but I got it out. Yeah.
Are you emotionally prepared for that?
You know, I like to think I am, but I am finding, as I was preparing the manuscript to send it to the publisher before I came on vacation, I said, I started feeling things that I had not felt before, which was, I'll never get to fix it again. I'll never get to give them a better ending if I think of something better later. I'll never be able to give them better words for some of their conversations or make it longer. I'll never be able to do those things that I used to do just for pleasure and fun. I would read my own manuscript, like you say, and that you did it again and again. I have done it unhealthy amounts of time over the years and changed a lot and things, but I'll never be able to do that again. This series has been my private playground for many years, for decades. I was telling AJ, I started the first books when I was 13. I'm not 13 anymore. And so it feels strange to know that I'm going to be putting it out before people who will now own it. Because I feel that once a reader reads a book, they make it their own. And it doesn't belong completely to the writer anymore. It's part of a different world process. I've sent it out. It's like having a child go away. I've done that too. You send them out and they make their own way in the world, but you can't control them anymore. And it's a strange feeling. It's like, can I ever just read it again for fun? I don't know.
Well, you may need some distance before you can reread it.
Once in a while, yeah. Sometimes a reader will contact me, or I'll read it on social media. Sometimes I lurk. You know, I know they're talking about my book. And when I hear them say something, I go, oh, and I go and I read it. Oh, yeah. And so it's not bad. You know, what I read, that's pretty good. So I do get to still read it for fun a little bit. It's different.
Yes. I still need to read yours. I've read works by AJ and Timothy, but I just need to get to Sordanian, is it?
Yes, the first book.
Yeah, I got it. I just need to read it now.
Half the people started, like, I never hear from them again, so I don't know if they liked it or not. But every once in a while, somebody will say something.
That's always a weird feeling when someone's like, hey, I just started your book. And then, like, 15 months will pass.
Did they read it? Did they put it aside? Did they lose it? Did they die? I don't know.
My philosophy is no review is still a review. So I just assume they hate it. And that's cool. I'm totally fine with
I
that.
assume too. I assume they didn't like it. And that's okay. I don't like every book I read either.
Yeah.
So, you know, I read a lot of books. I don't review publicly. I do review under another name, completely separate once in a while. But I read a lot of books. I don't like every book. It's life. I didn't marry every man I met either.
And AJ, you also had started Wraith quite a long time ago, I believe.
Yeah, that's where that conversation we had earlier came in, because I told her the original version of Wraith, which was the original title was The Space Bandits, which obviously changed, and the story has changed significantly since then. But I was 13 when I wrote that too. Summer break from school that year. And I think the only person who has ever read the original version is my brother. He's probably the only one that will ever read the original version.
Who are your original readers? Who are they? I mean, who reads the raw stuff, huh?
For me, nobody. Nobody touches that stuff.
Nobody but you. Till an editor sees it? Nobody?
My first drafts are a nightmare because I just write them to get done with them.
Mm.
It's actually proven to be a challenge because I put aside a full-length novel for a few months now,
Mhm.
and when I go back to work on it, it's like king placeholder steps into kingdom name with prince placeholder. I don't know what the hell's going on,
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah.
it's really hard to work on it again.
With names, I use just an underscore, and then I leave with the underscores, and then I do find and replace, and I look for all the underscores, just
That's
change
such a good
them as
idea.
names.
Yeah,
Smart.
I have to literally do search placeholder and get rid of all of them.
I
Yes.
don't operate that way. Like I have to work on the one project till the draft is done, but I can't leave gaps because it just will annoy me.
Yeah.
And like I have to so my process probably takes longer to get a draft done. But
I mean, it all balances out in the end. Like I write quick drafts, but I edit for months because I write such sloppy drafts.
Yeah.
If I were to spend more time drafting, I would spend less time editing. So I mean, it's really just different ways of getting to the same outcome.
Mhm.
But it's weird because I mean, I actually don't like to write, but I like to finish writing. You know?
okay.
I forget which author has the quote. I don't like writing, but I like having written, something like that. And that's how I
Makes
feel.
sense.
Mhm.
Mm.
I heard that somewhere, and I don't recall. It may have been at a conference or convention or something. So I don't know who originally said it, but I
I
would
wish I knew because I use it all the
look it
time.
up a
So
lot when
I
I,
should figure that out.
especially with AI now. It's like, oh, I wrote a book with AI. You did not write anything, but you're thinking you've written. Mhm.
That takes away all the fun. I mean, I've got two settings. Either I'm in the first draft setting where it's like word count of, oh, I've written 1,000 or 2,000 words today. I can feel good about that. On the second draft, it feels more like editing, and then I'm not worrying about word count. Then it's
Yeah.
okay. I want to work on these two paragraphs and make sure that this description kind of lands the way I want it to. And that's when I'm agonizing about word choice and very nitpicky things. And yeah, completely different.
Mhm.
I think the worst feeling is when you feel like you've done a great job writing and you do word count and it's like 300 words.
Yeah.
You know,
But
like,
they
what
could
the
be a
hell?
great 300 words.
Yeah.
Great words.
Mhm.
I am one of those, like, I don't look at the word count until the draft is done, and then I'm like, "Oh, that's how big this book is. Okay, that's cool."
Yeah, I never
I just
know what it's done either.
That's fascinating to me. I could never operate that way.
Yeah, I don't even know what the word count is, and I don't even look. The public cares more, but I don't, and I just write whatever. And then I edit, and then I take out some. I take out whole chapters, but then you put other stuff back in. And eventually, it turns out a certain number of words, but there's never a goal for X number of words, either for a day or for a document.
Mhm.
It happens.
I respect that because I mean, I just finished writing a novella and I was like, this thing is no matter what the plot is, where it goes, is 20,000 words. If there's 19,000 words, people got to start dying. We got to start wrapping this thing up.
Oh, but that's a fun thing too, killing off people. Sometimes
Oh yeah.
that's a great blast. I mean, sometimes it's tragic and it makes you cry, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, now's the chance. I get to kill them. I did that. I killed off a character. I was so happy to kill him. So that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Some characters have it coming,
Yeah.
and then others are people's favorites, and then you get in trouble. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't speak from experience. I haven't introduced any major character deaths yet, but
Oh,
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've had some comments
Yeah.
with a certain character in Exile.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was rough. It was.
Mm.
I can't really say much without spoilers, but it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
sometimes you get a feeling that when like the main character is happy, something horrible is about to happen. You know,
Can't keep up.
Yeah, like how many pages are left of this book? It can't just be the person frolicking around having a good time.
yeah. Yeah, when it's like chapter 4 out of 50 and the character just got engaged, you're like, uh-oh.
Sometimes it's a setup too. So
yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes it catches you by surprise, where you didn't know you were going to kill them. And then like, whoa, I'm going to kill this person. And it's like, whoa, but I have to. That's how it's set up. And you do it. But I've
had one
like that. So.
Yeah, I've had one situation like that in a series that's not published yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out how to resolve this one issue. And I woke up the one morning and I was like, I know what I have to do, and I have to kill this character. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to.
And you don't want to sometimes. That happened to me, and I don't know if anyone except AJ has read Sardania. But it wasn't the first book I wrote in the series. It was written fourth. I wrote the last 4 books first, and I had this series, and I showed it to I was with DAW at the moment, Donald Wollheim Publishers, and I showed them my series, and they said, oh, this is too ambitious, and by the way, you should be focusing on this guy, Durillion, the character. Oh, great, so now I have to write that story. So anyway, I went and wrote Sordanian and then the Keld Kings because of that advice. But certain people were already dead, and I had to kill them. I had to write a story that created the character and then killed them. And it had to kill them in ways that I had already introduced. So it was kind of challenging.
That's hilarious.
They're good. Yeah. I have to alive them again here. And actually it was good. His name was Peter Stample. He was an editor. He's still an editor as far as I know for DAW. And but he's very good, and his advice was spot on.
Well, personally, I like that you've focused on Durillion because he's like my favorite character in that series.
Turns out he's everybody's favorite. The guy was right. He was right. What can I say? Listen to good advice when you get it.
Yeah, I feel like the authors almost always have their own favorites, and often it's completely contrary to what the readers generally like. You always get surprising feedback.
Well, who's your favorite character?
In my book?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I love both my MCs. I couldn't spend as much time as I do with them if I didn't like them. But I love Rosh. I mean, he's kind of snarky. He's like the, snotty young kid. And he's tagging along. He appears kind of halfway through the book and makes a few more appearances in the sequel too. But he's fun to write, and Evere as well. I mean, she's just a badass. So
those are fun to write, badass.
Yeah, especially since I'm not one, so it's kind of nice to live vicariously through the cool characters.
Yeah.
But yeah. How about you?
Well, I'm trying to remember. It's Prisoner's the one character, right? Am I saying that right?
Prisoner.
What's the other one?
And Oculus.
Oculus, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I mean, I feel like I've asked you this before, but do you have an ETA on that book?
Yes, I'm aiming for around May next year.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's going to be a day one read for me. I definitely want to get going on that.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm having a lot of fun now, just digging into like the settings. I mean, I always have fun with my settings. So on the second draft, I'm like, how do I describe this? And I get really into the just new settings. I don't want to spoil too much, but I feel like we go on some more adventures compared to in the first book.
Yeah.
It's quite contained just to the city. So We see
That's
some
why
really
I'm
cool
really
images.
shocked you're going with the duology, because you've created an absolutely incredible world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so massive and detailed and complex.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to do other books in other corners of that world.
That would be great.
I
Yeah.
think for the duology, there was a specific story that was tied to the duology, and I think that's all. Well, it's called the Apidecca Duology because it is largely to do with what's happening in that city. But there are other cities in Niadria, and there are other characters, and I'd like to go back and forth, like places in the past, other places in the future. New characters. There's a lot I can do, but I just need to wait for the right story to come up. But there are some short stories in the works, so I'm hoping I'll be able to announce more of them soon. But they could be tied to anthologies. AJ may know something about that.
At least one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Have
cool.
to keep quiet for now.
Yeah.
Understood. I've really been favoring the short stories lately because it's just so much easier to write.
Yeah.
And I find it's a lot easier to convince someone to read a book that's 70 pages than a 2,000-page trilogy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some stories just lend themselves to like that bite-sized, word count of, a few thousand words rather than the trilogies and that. And it's fun. You kind of get to play with. Like what you did with the Whisper that replaced God. That's Lord Meat is such a voicey kind of character, and it just works in that more contained story. I feel like listening to him for hundreds of pages would be a little bit difficult.
I actually get that feedback a lot.
Yeah.
And they were like, I enjoyed this, but don't ever make this a full-length book.
Really? Come on.
Yeah. But I struggle with, I really like first person, but I struggle with staying with the same character for a very long time. Like AJ, what you did with the Caein series to me is absolutely incredible because it's all one POV. And I don't have that ability. I don't have that talent. Like I pretty much I make a character do something. I'm like, all right, what is this guy doing? And that's the only way I can do a story.
Yeah, it does sort of limit the scope of the story when you only have one perspective to focus on. Like with my Relics of War, because there's so many, there's characters on both sides of the conflict, and it's a lot of fun to build something that massive, but it took a lot of energy for me to do that. So when I was writing the Caein Legacy, I was like, I almost wrote the second book, Guardian, from Alexander's perspective.
Yeah, I was actually just going to bring that up.
And thinking about it and like bouncing that idea off of my husband, he always gets the first feedback, I guess.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if it makes sense to switch the perspective for one book and then go back, because I knew how I wanted book 3 and 4 to go. So I ultimately ended up just sticking with one perspective, which made Guardian a little interesting, I think, for some readers.
Yeah, like when I reviewed Guardian, I wrote that I admired that it was probably very difficult to write. And I feel like without explanation, that makes no sense. It's just because his brother is really the main character of that book. And you kind of watching, it's hard to explain without spoilers, but it was, I admired how you made it work.
I mean, the title says a lot. It's Guardian, and that's the role that Andrew plays for his brother Alexander. So
that's a great point.
Really,
I didn't consider
it's
that.
fresh and interesting. I mean, you don't often get to hear the point of view of the person who's like joining a character on their quest. We're used to following the person who is undertaking like the mage trials and all of that. So was good, and it did kind of it also gave you more time to build up like that bond that the brothers have, and then that you see that through to like Harbinger. Yeah, it just worked, and Thomas, of course, being like more of a key figure in Harbinger. Yeah, it was good the way each of those books kind of had Andrew bonding with one of the brothers, except for Colin, of course, because
Colin doesn't deserve that.
I remember when we were doing the indie fantasy prompts, and the question was like, "Who's the villain you hate the most?" And everybody picked Colin.
Colin, yes.
Yeah,
that was so funny to me.
I was laughing every time I saw one of those responses, and I was like, "This makes my day." Everybody hates Colin, and so do I.
He's really the perfect villain though, because he's not powerful at all. He's just like a jerk.
He just has a lot of resources.
Yeah.
You don't have to be powerful to be a villain. It's almost better if you're really quite pathetic. But yeah.
Because I mean, you have a man who can turn to a dragon at will, and his opponent is just like this annoying kid king. You know, it's like.
And like even Thomas is at least smart. I mean, Colin, I don't know. I guess he's politically quite smart, but not in many other areas.
He has low cunning.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's just not smart. I love writing that type of character, though. I do. It's like they think they're so smart too. That's fun.
It just started like pouring rain outside. So that's why I was looking over at the window. I was like, oh.
The deluge just descended upon us. There's a lot of that lately.
AJ, I was going to ask you about just circling back to Wraith and the Revolution. Like, how did you, what sort of things did you want to include in your idea of this dystopian Earth that you'd created? I know the Humboldt squid feature prominently, and I'll let you talk more about them, but just, what else do you see kind of existing or managing to survive in that context?
Yeah. There are rats mentioned at one point because, there's a lot of garbage and stuff, and rats seem to thrive in that environment. There are some plants that are still clinging to life. They're not usually the good plants. Like, I believe at one point in one of the early chapters, I mentioned the manchineal trees, which are very, very toxic. My first experience with those, we were on vacation with my parents a few years ago in Costa Rica, and they had on the beach, there was this tree and there was this giant sign that says toxic, do not touch. And I was like, a tree? Really? So I had to look up what it was, and I was like, oh, that's fascinating. They're like, yeah, you don't want to touch them. You don't want to get the sap on you. It's bad news. So
I've never heard of that.
I went the route of like anything that survives is either really aggressive or just really nasty, I guess, in some way.
Wow. I really like the way you set it all up, though. It really gets you rooting for Pablo and Kai.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I love the way you bring science even into your fantasy. I think that's one of the things that caught my attention first in Relics. And I certainly noticed it in Serpentis and the Caein Legacy, where you often, there's a scientific integrity to the underpinnings of your worlds. They have some rationale. They have actual science working under the scenes. I love that. I think it's more reality. It makes it feel more grounded.
Yeah, I tend to have that. I don't go into it consciously thinking about doing it. It's just I am a scientist and I've been doing that for so long that like I think it's part of my thought process. Well, how can I make this seem like it could be real-ish?
That's good enough, though. Real-ish. Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have no science background, so all mine is unexplainable ancient magic. And that's all you're getting.
But it works too.
Yeah, that does work.
Yeah.
We bring what we are into the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a place for that.
And with Wraith, I had a lot of fun because I was able to like dig into some of the science stuff more. Like Kai's genetic condition. I'm very familiar with it because I also have it. And then, you know, other things like I've always been really interested in astronomy and like physics, even though I don't understand the math. I think it's fascinating conceptually. So I was able to like add some of that stuff into Wraith because it's a sci-fi book, you know, and they're going to other planets, other stars, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's why I've always been afraid to write sci-fi, because you can't fake science. You have to know what you're talking about.
Yes, especially if it's like more hard science fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the way AJ, you included like just details about Kai's cybernetics, you know, and how they would be combined with his like organic body, you know, reinforcing his bones and like replacing some of his organs with artificial ones. I mean, it was very clever, you know, rather than just someone having their limb hacked off and then replaced with a metal arm.
That's what I would do.
I mean, those are cool too.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, the cybernetics thing, like I don't know if there's really a lot of plausible science behind what I did there, but it sounded good, so I ran with it.
Do you get like a beta reader for that, or you just hope it works?
No, I have a couple beta readers.
Okay.
So, and actually I have a book right now that is with beta readers. I had to find a different group of people than I usually send it to, because it ended up there was more romance in that book than I was initially expecting.
Okay.
So I was like, I kind of need some feedback there. I don't know if it went too fast or, you know, I was really worried about the pacing.
Beta readers are wonderful. Find some you trust and trust them with your book, because they'll pick up where you fail. Yeah. I don't worry about romance much, though. I know a lot of romance beta readers I can turn to. I wrote romance before I wrote. Between my science fiction and the Triempery books I'm publishing, I wrote erotic romance novels. So I can go to these people and say, "Hey, does this work?"
So. Under a different pen name.
Different pen name.
Yeah.
Keeps it. I didn't want my readers of the erotic stuff to think this series is not an erotic series. It's pure epic fantasy. I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't.
Like, you guys all know Kat Kinney, right?
Yeah.
I read her super cozy series, Light My Pyre, and then I liked it a lot, so I went to her other series, Dark, and it was like super spicy. I was like, oh my god, what's going on?
So I'm in a book club with her, so I knew that series was much different. And I know that's usually not my thing, so I haven't picked that one up yet. But if you like the YA stuff, her Direwolf book and the sequel are really, really good.
Yeah, she has really good prose.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing, and her cozy stories, like the food descriptions, are just awesome. They make you so hungry, though.
Yeah.
I think we all include delicious foods in our stories. The honey bread. Yeah.
There was something on Twitter about like knowing what kind of fantasy you're in based on the food that is served in the local tavern or something like that.
Oh, that's a good thought.
Yeah, that was really good. But
I
unfortunately, I can't remember the details. But I think it was things like mead and honey bread is epic fantasy, and it was less nice stuff if it was dark fantasy.
Yeah, my characters either drink tea or wine. It's really sometimes I just need my characters to get drunk and yell exposition to each other. Like,
They have to get drunk on something.
yeah, it's those are the best things to write.
There's a lot of ale in some of my books. But I don't drink ale. I had to drink.
I had a funny chat with my editor about this. I wrote ale constantly, but I don't really understand what it is.
You have to drink it, and I don't like it, but
Like a type of beer, I guess. Is it like a type of beer?
It's a type of beer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a type of beer. I don't like beer either.
I don't either.
Yeah. So most of my characters don't drink a lot of it.
Yeah. I wish I could put Scotch into fantasy worlds, but it's literally from Scotland, so it's.
What do you call it then? Yeah, you give it another name and pretend it's.
Because I mean, this is actually I want to talk about this. Like, can you say whiskey in a fantasy book? Is that a thing, or is that just too modern?
I don't know enough about its origins.
I mean, not Scotch maybe, but a cognac.
Okay, cognac, yeah.
From France, but you could say bubbly spirits or something.
Yeah, because I wanted that's why I settled on wine, because wine works in any time period ever.
Right, everybody's, yeah.
I just wanted to see where a guy just drinks really hard liquor from a flask, but I just couldn't figure it out.
I'm trying to remember because Crystal Matar's series, there's a specific drink that they have, and it is hard liquor, and I don't want to say what it is if it's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because it's been a couple of years since I read her books.
What was it? Brightwash.
Yeah.
It's on the TBR.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that series is very good.
Yeah. It feels a bit more modern. I've got an audiobook.
Definitely aspects of it that feel pretty modern.
And yet purely fantastic. I mean, it has fantasy. It's a fantasy story.
Yeah.
But it's more modern type.
Yes, I mean I wish you could use some phrases in I wanted someone to say bestie, but you can't say that in epic fantasy. I mean, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it can't sound too modern. And yet, as I was explaining to some nephews and nieces recently, it's written as a translation anyway. These stories, my characters are speaking another language. They're not speaking English. The story's written in English. The conversations are in English.
Yeah.
I didn't invent new languages the way Tolkien did. So this is a translation anyway. So some words, I'm sorry, there are no other translations.
Completely.
Some swears especially. So you do say some things, knowing that this is an English translation of it. So I try to be respectful of that. Something like Scotch, I wouldn't say, but you make a hard liquor that acts like Scotch, you can do that.
That's clever because that kind of gets you out of the whole language problem. Yeah. You're doing a translation.
I mean, it essentially is.
Yeah.
But I won't use the word Jesus Christ but I'll use something else.
Yeah.
But there's some boundaries you don't want to cross.
I had to pop Natalie's comment up because I'm currently reading Outer Universe. But yeah, that series is really, really fascinating. It's like old style sailing ships, but they're crossing galaxies.
That is
super
cool.
I love the book too.
Yeah.
Because there were space dragons and they were so fun.
Yes.
It was this is so wacky.
Those dragons are hilarious. I love
I'm looking forward to that. I'm almost done with the first book. So Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's very unique. It does have the treasure planet and Stardust kind of trappings, but very different story to either of those. I mean, it's pretty dark in places, but
Yeah. How far are you in the first book?
getting very close to the end.
Okay, yeah, because the last like 25% is a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
It gets weird, and I liked it a lot. It was excellent.
Yeah. I love the portal powders and the breathing wood of the ships. I mean,
yeah,
it kind of makes it feel plausible, even though, you know, there are wooden ships in space and that shouldn't work, but you go along with it.
yeah, and I don't care. As long as I'm entertained, I don't question the rationale. I don't care.
AJ's review, I read it the other day. That inspired me to, maybe I should try that one.
I really want to read her upcoming novella.
Yeah.
Which I never remember the name of.
The Reflections of Lilia Damselfly.
Yeah, I will never remember that title, but
I think it comes out later this week.
No, I don't really.
I can't remember now. Natalie, let us know.
Still here. We can...
Next week or later this week. It's soon. Yeah.
Add book to birthday list.
Yeah. No, it's been getting a lot of traction. I saw it had 40 ratings already on Goodreads. That's really good for pre-release. That's like that's really good.
She's caught onto something that people love. So yeah. Good for Natalie.
But that's exciting because I'm really in novella mode right now, just because I'm struggling to read full-length books. But I love just reading a novella in one sitting.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking of like some of the unique things that Natalie's come up with, and then I was also that got me on another tangent with like Eel Lions and J. Patricia and their tree people, which then kind of got me onto AJ. I'd like you to talk about your plant people in Revolution.
Yeah, the Botanari, they were probably one of the last pieces of that story I came up with after, like, the most recent, if that makes sense. Since I had been working on pieces of that story for, well, since I was 13. So, yeah, I was like, I want to have a plant sort of people, but I don't want them to be like Ents or anything like that. I wanted them to be a little bit more humanoid-ish, but they evolved from carnivorous plants. So they can photosynthesize, but they also eat meat, and a lot of it is like insect-based protein. Their world has a binary star, so they have a lot of sunlight. They like the other plant life on that world a lot, so they go out of their way to build things with other materials. Like there's one scene where Daros, who is the main Botanari character in Wraith, needs to write something down, but they don't have paper like we do. They have something similar, but it's made out of compressed insect wings. So, you know, it was interesting trying to figure out how to come up with these items that aren't exactly the same as what we would use. And like the food stuff too. There's one scene where Pablo is mentioning Daros is trying to get him to eat Botanari cuisine, and he's not too sure about the insects. So,
and the sun lamps, that was also a really good idea, like with the photosynthesis. Yeah. And are there any other alien races you think that are lurking in that galaxy, or is that the only one that humans have encountered?
That's the only one that they've encountered so far. I do have tentative plans to write related stories to that, but yeah, so far it's just the Botanari and the humans that are in that universe.
Cool. It was nice contrasting like the dystopian Earth with their society, which is like the utopian one. You know, everything's just run very efficiently and with no waste. And yeah, I really enjoyed the descriptions of that planet when it does come up.
I really like plants, like not just as a writer, but like a couple of weekends ago we went to the nursery and I bought a bunch of flowers because we have a flower bed that we just put in that needed some stuff. So I was like, oh yay, I get to play with plants. And
they're so rewarding. You know, give them a little bit of love and they respond. Generally favorably, and too much water will kill them. But yeah, I like plants that way too. I like bulbs. You plant a bulb, and you get every year you get new bulbs.
Yeah.
My problem is I like to cuddle, and you can't cuddle a plant.
Or hard to cuddle. Some you don't want to cuddle. Trees, yeah.
Succulents are very easy to look after. You just break pieces off and then they root themselves and soon they fill up a whole pot. So those are great.
They have many advantages.
You can't kill them easily, even through negligence. I mean, they don't like too much water.
But it's hard to exchange ideas with them. Very hard.
That's true.
But they don't communicate well with humans.
That was like when I had fish and I would try to talk to them. It just didn't really go anywhere.
it looks like Natalie says her book comes out on Monday.
Oh my God.
Okay. Soon.
This whole year is just flown by. I really can't believe it.
It's already half over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just in such a blur. I can't keep up with it.
What happens when you get older? I was just thinking, remember when in summer it would last forever?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I used to love summer because there was no school. And now it's like...
You have months of play.
Now it's like, damn, I got to turn my AC on. That's more money.
Yeah, there's always something to do, chores or not really an official day off.
But you wear better clothes in summer.
That's true. Yeah.
It's now very cold where I am. Well, not very, very cold by your standards, I'm sure, because we don't get snow. But it's like 14 degrees, which is probably, that's Celsius, like 55 or thereabouts in Fahrenheit. And then the houses here aren't really built with any kind of heating system, so you just have to wear warm clothes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I lived in Bolivia for a while. It's in the Andes, very high, but they had no flies, no bugs, none. There were no bugs. I love that. But their winters were very different from ours. Not a lot of snow. You think Andes snow, it snows in the mountains, but not there. And it was, they didn't get as cold as I would have thought. They didn't have the sub-zero stuff that we used to. Yeah. And it was very different. And they built the houses differently too. We didn't have, like you said, the heating systems.
Yes.
Different. And I was like, how did they do it? But they do, and it worked for them. It was perfect.
I mean, it saves energy, I'm sure. I should be happy about that.
Absolutely.
Some snow on the mountains, on the very high mountains, and occasionally on Table Mountain. But otherwise, it's just rain.
Yeah. Which is, if you think about it, we have a lot of different environments here on Earth that are kind of alien in some ways to some of us. Not to the people who live there, but to some of us. And it's interesting. We have to learn about each other and our cultures and why they are the way they are.
I still haven't touched real snow.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. My relatives from Bolivia were like that. They'd come up to visit us. Snow. They wanted snow. I said, you have to wait till November or December. I lived in Wisconsin. And November was pretty good for snow. So they'd wait, and finally it would snow, and they'd be like, snow! And they'd here's a shovel.
Yeah. I imagine it gets old quickly when you have to start shoveling your way out your front door.
It is pretty to look at, but it is a pain in the ass.
It is.
Driving is scary.
It can be.
Do you have to drive
far? Don't know how to do it. Yeah, you don't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Yeah. You got to know. If you don't know, you're going to be a problem.
I moved to Philadelphia. They don't know how to drive in the snow. I'm from Wisconsin. We do that. But you come here and they don't know how to go up a hill in the snow. It's like it's a hill. You can't race up the hill in the snow. It doesn't.
No.
You don't know that. Oh no. So we'll be out in outer space with a spacecraft with some of these people.
Yeah, sometimes you hit the brakes and your car doesn't stop moving. So you gotta know what you're doing.
Right through the stop sign. Yep. Yeah. You waited too long, dummy. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I think I had some more questions written down for AJ.
Okay.
I don't know if we've got time.
Oh, that's good. I didn't write or prepare anything. I just showed up.
I read the book. I was part of the ARC team, so I got really excited.
You have an
advantage. I can't wait to talk more about it, but I need more people who've also read it to now talk about it all.
Otherwise, you're spoiling everything.
Exactly. We can't go into the spoilers.
Yes, I'm just going to spoiler session.
So AJ, with you can talk about your main characters or your side characters. What did you like writing about each of them? Just like one sentence or however much you want to share.
I'll start with the one that's easiest for me to answer because I really enjoyed incorporating Daros because he's the Botnari main character and his background is just so different from anything that I grew up with. So he's the heir to his father's dynasty and he grew up with a lot of money and he's really never had to worry about anything because he's just given it, and it's such a different perspective from what I personally have experienced that one was interesting for me to write. And then also that he's Botnari, so there's the unique aspects of the biology there. Pablo he's just like such a cute character, and I just loved Pablo.
Yeah.
Like he's the person that you just want to run up and give a hug to. Zin was the nicknames, and that was not something I planned originally. It just it popped up in one of the first scenes she was in, and I was like, this is kind of funny. I'm gonna run with it. So throughout the rest of the book, she just gives people nicknames, and Kai ends up with, I don't know, probably a dozen.
Yes, I've actually got some of them written down here. Would you like me to share them?
Sure.
Not the spoilery ones. I've listed them. So we've got Steel Guts, Shake Man, Mechhead, Brutus Maximus, and my personal favorite is Le Chef.
Because, yes, that.
Yeah, when you get to the chapter, The Worst Cooks in the Galaxy, that one is, I think, one of my favorites because it's just hilarious. Yeah, they'll have to, that's somewhere in the middle of the book, so people have to get that far because really, I mean, Zin was so funny.
I guess there's other characters too that I should mention. Kai is the main character. I really liked working on his sense of humor and how he makes fun of himself sometimes. I guess because that's how I am sometimes. It was a little bit of me that came out in his character. Soren is one of the characters that came out in the very original version of what became Wraith and the Revolution. So Soren has been around since I was 13. And his final version is a lot different than he was originally. He's older than he started out with. So I guess he aged with me, sort of thing.
Cool.
But he's an engineer, and very familiar with like cybernetics and stuff, and very influential in the revolution part of the book. And then Kai's older sister Kelsey shows up in very important parts of the book. She's one that I think people will either really like her or really not, depending.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like the way you introduced her like early on when Pablo wasn't really sure about her intentions. He felt like she hadn't done enough to help her brother get off Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn a little bit more about, her side of the story later on. I thought that was really well done.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking I'm missing one of. Oh, I'm missing V. V is
Yes.
another character I really enjoyed working on. V is a cyborg and Kai's mentor when he's first entering that program. So
I really like the
stoic.
I mean, yeah, they had a very dry sense of humor, though. It was really fun. Mm-hmm. People are in for a treat with this book. Yeah, it's so different from the Caein Legacy, though. I mean, not just the genre, but the humor and like the kind of world that they're existing in, and it was so complex as well. I felt like Kai, he starts out with this really small world. He's only aware of the little patch that he lives in on Earth, and then it just keeps expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps like encountering new groups of people and starts finding himself like caught in the crosshairs of all of these political problems. And I mean, it was really well done, the way you just slowly expanded his world and introduced him to all of these new opportunities, and then he has to make these really quick decisions in tough circumstances.
And he doesn't always make the best decisions. Like sometimes he
real human.
Yeah.
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 Sometimes he makes mistakes and it catches up to him, and other times he knowingly does something and he knows there's going to be consequences. So it's I really I keep saying this. I really enjoyed working on this book. It was a lot of fun in a lot of ways.
Yeah, even his first decision he makes, which is really like the turning point for him on whether he's going to take his sister Kelsey up on her offer of being part of this super soldier program. I mean, you can get behind him because by then we've had that taste of his life on Earth, and he's got this low life expectancy. People are dying from tumors because of the radiation at a really young age, and so he is painted into a corner. He feels that even if this big corporation probably has some kind of nefarious uses for him, it's not like he's got many options. So you can get behind him and see why he makes the decisions he does.
Oh, thank you for that. Like I've had some really good early feedback on this book, and it makes me so happy just to see that, because this was the story I've been working on longer than anything else. So to finally have it out there and, knowing that people like this story, it means more than I can say.
That's awesome.
It is amazing, and it is a great feeling to see people enjoying something you've worked on for that long.
Yeah, I can't wait for more people to read it. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to. I wish I wasn't so behind on my reading. I just started Casey's book, or Cassie. I'm not sure how to say it, but
Yeah.
it's the last book of her trilogy.
Mm.
I'm very excited for it because her books are really good.
Her first book, that one part at the end, like it broke me. I was reading it like right before I went to bed, and I was just like sobbing. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm fine."
I was so glad we did that buddy read. Because I remember I looked at it and I was like, "Damn, this has really good reviews." And then I was reading, I was like, "Okay, this is really good."
Yeah, you see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually thought the second book was better, so I'm excited to
I
see
liked
how it
the
ends.
second book better too.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I mean, I still need to get to the third. Maybe that will be my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, Casey, she gets those. She delivers those real emotional gut punches.
Oh yeah, it's just like I gotta finish it, and I gotta just really recommend the hell out of it.
Yeah, I haven't read that third book yet, but I need to. Hoping the villain gets it. Because she's got a pretty nasty villain in that series.
Bang.
Yeah.
You get your sympathetic villains, and then the ones that you just, you want to see them get what's coming to them. The Collins.
Like Colin.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we're about at time, so I just wanted to thank you all again for joining me and everybody who listened. And if you do pick up Wraith and the Revolution, thank you, and I hope you enjoy it. And I guess we will talk to everyone later.
Yeah, it was an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Thank you for having
Thank you for inviting me.